The bridge between fear and faith is knowledge. And that's something we have to all keep in mind. I mean, so part of what I do is I teach people about this, and I remind them, and they wake up and they go, oh yeah, of course. So then, now that they know that, then we work on three parts. We say, okay, let's teach you how to live your life so that your body is no longer producing cancer. It no longer needs to produce it. Okay, so you stop making cancer. The second part is that we have certain interventions to try and eliminate the cancer that's there right now, and those interventions are usually metabolic in nature rather than military in nature. We don't go to war against the tumor. Mind, body, and spirit. Now, we use those words separately as if they were three separate things. You know, where does the spirit end and the mind begin? Where, you know, you can't. It's kind of like Freud said, ego, superego, and id. Well, those are just ways of conceiving of it so you can talk about it, but they're not separate, distinct aspects. It's all part of who we are. So we have to deal with our physical, our psychological, and our spiritual beings, because we're correcting on all levels. We're not just correcting biochemically. We're not just correcting biomechanically. We're correcting spiritually, etc. That's basically the program that we use. It has been observed by our group, and I'm sure many other groups, that women with left-sided breast cancer seem to have problems with their mother or with their children on the nurturing thing. And women with right-sided breast cancer are having more issues with work or with spouses and stuff like that. It's not, I don't know if it's 100%, but it's pretty close. I mean, you know, we see. So there's emotional aspects. Did it cause it? Or was it a necessary component? I mean, that we don't know yet. But so here's the thing about emotional responses. What's the difference between a thought and an emotion? A thought and an emotion, they both exist at a symbolic level in this place we call the mind. Okay? And it's maybe a symbolic video or thought or words. Not words, but usually pictures. So the difference between a thought and an emotion is, I mean, I could have a thought about some mathematical problem or driving a car or something like that. But an emotional response would be when that thought has a physiological component. It causes my heart to race. It causes my breathing to increase. It causes me to cry. So if it has a physiological aspect component of the thought. Otherwise, it's just pure thought. And pure thought is just a symbolic representation of reality, of a perceived reality in our brains, whereas emotion is a physiological response to that perceived reality. Okay, so those are really the only differences. And so it's interesting if you look at a lot of therapies, like Freud talked about catharsis. Catharsis is just letting it out. Right? Why do you want to let it out? The reason you want to let it out is because if you don't let it out, you don't really know what it is. If it's in your mind, if you're walking around like, I can't think about that. I don't want to think about that. I can't. So you really don't know what's in there, and it's just causing. It's like a hand grenade just spinning, and it's causing problems. But when you let it out, you take away your attachment to it. And the more often you tell your story, the more likely it is to become an objective thing. It's just another story. Instead of it being, oh, my trauma. And the last thing in the world people want to give up is their misery. It's a tragedy. It's a tragic thing. But people love their story. Listen to my story. Let me tell you about my story. When I was 2 years old, this happened, and then, and we're all in love with our story, and it's all part of vanity. It's all part of our madness. It's all part of what keeps us human. So, but anyway, the more you start to tell your story, the more it becomes over there, and you're less attached. And pretty soon you can tell your story without crying. You can, and stuff like that. So that's part of what is involved in all talk therapies.